Hello!
Hello there!
Welcome!
Welcome, I'm Deacle.
And I'm Nurserin.
And this is...
Dr. Time and Space.
And we're glad you're back, as we are every week. What do we have on this week's show?
We have the final Judge by Tenure and a little bit of a roundup.
Oh, we'll also have a very small amount of news. But not as much as normal, because there isn't much news this week.
And also we have our review on Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel.
We'll be pressing that great thing that is the randomizer to determine what we'll be watching next week.
And also we will have a quiz or question.
So, there's a fair bit there for us to get our teeth into.
Yes, that's a fair bit.
So should we start off with the latest news?
Yes.
Okay.
There's not much news this week. But we have stocked up on a few features that we could ask about, which have been on Doctor TV recently.
Okay, so what do we have first?
So Sir John Hurt has sadly been diagnosed with his cancer, but is remaining optimistic. In a statement released, earlier this week, he said, "I've always been open about the way in which I conduct my life, and in that spirit I would like to make a statement. I've recently been diagnosed with early-stage pancreatic cancer. I'm undergoing treatment and am more than optimistic about a satisfactory outcome, as indeed is the medical team." He added, "I'm continuing to focus on my professional commitments and will shortly be recording Jeffrey Bernard is Unwell, One of Life's Small Ironies, for BBC Radio 4. We wish John well."
Oh, and we wish John well as well.
Yeah.
He's a lovely guy, full stop. But also, I just think he's a superb actor. John.
He is.
I love it. His voice is just... He's just got one of the greatest voices of all time, I think. So many great films he's been in, and obviously we know him very well from a Doctor Who perspective as the War Doctor. Yeah.
As of us fans, wish him a speedy recovery. Get well soon, Sir War Doctor of TARDIS.
Yeah.
So John, I wish you the best. I'm sure you can make it.
Yeah.
Millions of Who fans alone will be wishing you well. Good luck, Sir John. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that our thoughts are with you. Let's see. Awful, terrible news. I hope untimely he is all right.
Ultimately.
Oh yeah.
Ultimately, yeah.
And finally, a very good man hit with a very bad disease. Hang in there, John. You can beat it. Long live the War Doctor.
Yeah, that's it. You can beat the Daleks, John. If you can beat the Daleks, you can beat this.
Yeah.
That's what we say. No, we wish him all the best.
We wish him well.
It's obviously a very, very difficult thing to fight.
Let's see. So let's look at some birthdays.
Okay.
This week we had Carol Ann Ford. She was born on 16th of June 1940 and is 75 years young today.
75. That's just weird, isn't it? Because Susan is one of those characters that obviously you know really well because she's such an important part of Doctor Who history. But then you don't actually see Carol Ann Ford in anything, so it's quite a shock to think that she could ever be 75. You know, just think of her as being that same age as Susan is in the series.
Let's see. Would she have been 23 when she was Susan?
Probably about that, wouldn't she? Yeah.
Carol, of course, made her debut in the very first episode of Doctor Who back in 1963, playing Susan Foreman, companion and granddaughter of the first Doctor. Join us in wishing Carol a very happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Aww.
Yeah. No, it's just hard to believe, isn't it? That's the thing with age. Very sad. It's very sad, the whole aging process.
I know.
I used to look young and lovely once.
Oh, you still do.
Oh. Yeah.
Doctor Who is 10 years old. Happy birthday to us. Yes, as with the revival of Doctor Who itself, this year marks the whole decade since the very site you were reading first launched.
So this is the Doctor Who TV site,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the site's exact date of birth is sadly lost in time. It was up and running within a couple of weeks of June 2005. The site had a different name at the time, though, Doctor Who 2K. It wasn't until late 2005 that it became Doctor Who TV.
I wonder why they changed the name. I wonder why Doctor Who TV.
Yeah. Why was it Doctor Who 2K?
Don't know.
What does that mean?
Don't know.
We'd just like to thank all of our readers, contributors and community members who have supported the site over the past decade. Please feel free to say how you discovered the site and how long you have been visiting in the comments.
I think it's worth saying that it's the first place we always go to for our Doctor Who news, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and most of the news that we come up with on the show comes from that site.
Yeah. Now, we are going to look here a trip down memory lane. Now, in 2005, just wait a minute.
Where's he gone? It's as if he's been zipped up into space itself.
Oh no, it's got lost.
Okay, so you're going to zip down to memory lane.
2005,
Okay.
It had a cover with loads of monsters, and then it had Christopher Eccleston.
As I guess you'd expect back at that time.
Then in 2006, we had the same thing but with the Sideman at the top.
Okay.
Then in 2007, we had the same thing but with Martha and the Doctor at the top. In 2008, we had the same thing with the Doctor and Donna at the top. Then it changed a little bit. It was a different look. It looks more like the Cult website, and it's got a Sideman at the top, which the Cult website you can see if you go to Doctor TV. Doctor TV is sort of the same. It's still got Christopher Eccleston standing there, and the headlines. In 2011, we saw Doctor Who goes 3D in SFX. Well, the recent news here. James Corden in Doctor Who ? And then 2011, we had the same thing. This time we didn't have Christopher Eccleston on the front. We had some Doctor Who news articles. We had a picture of Matt Smith saying Doctor 206. Then we had 2012. We had a picture of Amy, Rory, and the Doctor, and that had loads of news. Then 2013, we had, I remember that, when we had the special 23rd of November.
Okay.
Then we had 2013 as well. It looked the same as 2014, which we had deep breath and stuff come out of. Of course, we have the layout now, which looks quite similar but a bit different.
Excellent. So long may Doctor Who TV continue. Otherwise, we'd have to find the news ourselves, which would be a pain, wouldn't it? I wonder if this podcast will be running in 10 years' time.
I don't know, would it?
Let's hope so.
This new website be running.
That's right. Let's hope so.
Happy birthday, Doctor TV. I came across this site in 2012, same as me, when I was just randomly searching the web for anything Doctor Who, same as me. I found this site and have never left, same as me. I'm pretty sure I started commenting in 2013, a year after. Now I check this site every day, same as me. I can't have one without my Doctor TV, same as me. Once again, happy birthday, same as me. Well, I've been a member of Doctor Who TV for 3 years now, same as me, and I can safely say that I will never regret one day on here. I'm so glad I came across this site. If I hadn't, then my life would be very different indeed. So happy anniversary, Doctor TV. Well done for reaching 10 years. And thank you for putting the effort into every single day of those 10 years to bring us perhaps the best Doctor Who fan site on the internet.
Hooray! When is media set? That's wonderful. Yay. Okay. More news items then.
What?
Have you got any other news items?
No, but we can look at some features that I was going to look at.
Okay.
I did have something.
Okay.
It's depending if I can find it or not.
Okay. Yes, it's odd that the news is as sparse as it is actually, isn't it? Really.
It is, yeah.
This week, because you would have thought now, as they're getting more deeper and deeper into the new series, that you'd think a little bit more news would be out there.
You would, yeah.
Yeah. But alas, it's not the case.
I've got the Doctors and their finest performances there.
Oh, that'd be interesting, because that'd be a nice lead in actually to our next article.
Now, at 13th place, we have John Pertwee in Planet of the Spiders. Now, I usually have no qualms about saying that the third Doctor ranks towards the very bottom of my list of Doctors. Quite harsh.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's not because of any disdain for Pertwee himself. He was born to play the role. But for whatever reason, I feel that 3, while bursting at the seams of sophistication and elegance, lacks a certain depth that the other Doctors have. Suffice to say, every time I watch Planet of the Spiders, I have to eat my words. Now, the standout quote is a tear, Sarah Jane. No, don't cry. While there's life, there's
Death.
David Tennant in Waters of Mars as well.
Okay, yeah.
If I have one reservation about Tennant's run, is that we never really saw consequences for his actions like we did with 11. Sure, both were arrogant and overbeating at times, but while 11's arc is tangible and in a way self-fulfilling, his arrogance in bringing the Time Lords back in Day of the Doctor leads directly to the Kavarian chapter taking Amy and Melody in Series 6. Ted never really changed to become a better or worse man of what he'd done. Of course, that's all changed with that one final gunshot in the Waters of Mars. His stand-up quote is, "The laws of time are mine, and they will obey me." Sylvester McCoy in red, brackets audio, close brackets,
Okay.
is 11. In which Solve gets to the opportunity to play the Doctor possessed by a fierce of pure violence and ups the creepy factor by about 110%. Imagine the famous scene from the Happiness Patrol. You like guns, don't you? And then isolate it from the fact that we know it's the Doctor speaking and that he's probably working for the greater good of everyone. And you've got an idea of the Red Monster. McCoy really gets to prove here that despite his occasional dodgy moments, when he gets it right, he has the capacity to be the most fascinating, terrifying, and bejoling Doctor of all. Red is his stand-up quote. Do you want to read the...
I can, yeah. So, John Hurt from The Day of the Doctor. For obvious reasons, it wasn't hard to pick a best moment for John Hurt. Few actors can convey the gravitas and weight of years as convincingly as Hurt, and he is perfectly cast as the haunted War Doctor. In a way, the heart of the anniversary special, Hurt convinces and even terrifies as 8.5, yet still manages to hold his own in the high-energy banter between Smith and Tennant, actors about half his age for future reference. Moffat provides 8.5 with the bulk of the best dialogue, with epic lines such as, "Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame. To the simple but powerful, I don't know who you are, either of you."
Okay, thank you. 9, we've got Peter Davidson, another audio story, Circular Time. Never understood Rise Appeal. Think he's a bit of a wet fish or lazily written. Do yourself a favour and pick up Circular Time. in which Paul Cornell and Mike Maddox single-handedly show everyone else how it's done with regards to the Fifth Doctor and his relationships, particularly Litter. Everything from his love for cricket to his relationship with every companion he had is put under the microscope, but Circular Time is never heavy-handed and is always presented with elegance and finesse. See the autumn segment for proof of how Dawn could be absolutely gripping, with no action or alien menace whatsoever, and winter for a poetic epitaph to David's tenure on the show and his most human and heartfelt of Doctors.
Excellent. Okay, at number 8 we have Matt Smith with The Pandora Get Opens and The Big Bang. So it says, I realise that's kind of a cheat, including 2 episodes, but whatever. Matt Smith is my Doctor, and Series 5 was my series. And while Moffat can always deliver the goods, I think nothing quite lived up to the reckless brilliance of this finale. From the absolutely brilliant I am talking speech to his horrified realisation that he is the monster the prison was for, Smith holds nothing back and reaches the apotheosis of his childish, ancient and totally bonkers 11. I could pick any moment from this finale and use it to show Smith at his best, but in the end there was only really one choice. So the standout quote, with all stories in the end, just make it a good one, eh? Because it was, it was the best. The daft old man who stole a magic box and ran away. Did I ever tell you that I stole it? Well, I borrowed it. I was always going to take it back. Oh, that box. Amy, you'll dream about that box. It'll never leave you. Big and little at the same time. Brand new and ancient and the bluest blue ever. And the times we had, eh? Would have had. Never had. In your dreams they'll still be there. The Doctor and Amy Pond. On the days that never came.
Okay, this is surprising this is so low. Tom Baker and Genesis of the Daleks. I don't quite see Genesis as the bondified classic it is held to be, personally. I think it goes on way too long. Plus there's that dodgy business with the huge clam. But one aspect in which its influence is inarguable is its portrayal of the Fourth Doctor. We see him pushed to his limits like never before in the wasteland of Skaro. He's eccentrically completely useless in the war-ravaged lands, forced to reveal secrets of future Dalek defeats to Davros, who, if this wasn't the Doctor's only list, could have easily made an appearance with Wish's superlative performance. But of course, there is one scene which rises above all others and will always be regarded as one of the best in Doctor Who history. Listen, if someone knew the future, pointed out a child to you, and told you that that child would grow up totally evil, to be a ruthless dictator who would destroy millions of lives, could you then kill that child? Do I have the right? Simply touch one wire against the other and that's it. The Daleks cease to exist. Hundreds of millions of people, thousands of generations could live without fear, in peace, and never know the word Dalek.
That is a great scene, actually, isn't it? That, and it is quite true, isn't it? Even if you took Hitler as a baby, it would be hard for somebody to be able to kill off the baby Hitler because it's a baby; it's innocent on that stage.
Yeah. We've got part 2 here.
Oh, there's another part, is there?
Not supposed to go that far.
I like this article actually. It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's surprising me some of the order of some of the Doctors.
Christopher Eccleston is next. So from Bad Wolf Particles and Ways. Finals seem to be reliable sources of Doctors at their best. First Series 5 and now Series 1. Of all the brilliant things about Eccleston's last bow, Sniff, which celebrated its 10th anniversary this week, perhaps my favourite is how effortlessly it changes tone from a cheeky satire to a gritty base under siege and never feels incongruous. Eccleston masterfully changes his tone with it, handling the comedy. You have got to be kidding. And the dark. I've got 5 billion languages and you haven't got one way of stopping me. So if anybody's going to shut up, it's you. And the emotional. If you want to remember me, then you can do one thing. That's all. One thing. Have a good life. Do that for me, Rose. Have a fantastic life. With equal finesse, and all of that without mentioning the immortal speech at the cliffhanger of Bad Wolf. Yeah, you get the idea. So the next one is Paul McGann and Lucy Miller slashed to the death.
Okay.
At fifth. Well,
So I was just going to say, it's quite interesting. There's a few audio ones in here, isn't there?
yeah. Truth be told, I feel somewhat guilty about including an entry for McGann, which doesn't show the happy-go-lucky Eighth Doctor. McGann is so superb at playing the breathless adventurer that the Doctor plaudits for that in itself, but it is perhaps because of this that he stands out so when playing a Doctor devastated. The saddest thing is not the death of his 3 companions, including his great-grandson. It is that the 2 die for no reason at all. In a culture wherein it is expected that main characters of TV shows have grand, well-foreshadowed exits, think Donna and Rose, hearing Alex and Tamsin shot down casually as just 2 more victims in an endless war is perhaps the most upsetting event in Doctor Who history. Then there's Lucy Bleeding Miller. Both Smith and McGann give their absolute all to the most devastating finale in Doctor Who history. And if you can make it out this story feeling totally drained, you've got off lightly. Stand-up quote. When you can't threaten us with death, you have no power over us at all.
Okay, number 4, quite a high entry here for Sylvester McCoy. And here they've gone for the audio that's called Master. So beginning with Project Lazarus and continuing with Master, the third in the trilogy of enemy-centered stories which celebrated the 40th anniversary of Who, we are introduced to a lonely, companionless 7th Doctor who's miles away from the inconsistent character that we had shown in Big Finish thus far. McCoy is absolutely brilliant in this story, the culmination of the persona which had been building over his final 2 seasons on TV. The idea of the Master being given 10 years of life free from himself is fascinating, and Beavers is mesmerising as Dr. John Smith, good guy extraordinaire. The first episode of the story is magnificently creepy, as promises of slit throats and missing kitchen knives seem to echo at every turn, while the last 2 become increasingly blood-soaked with the appearance of Death herself, and the revelation that, spoiler, the Doctor made the Master evil in the first place by signing his childhood friend up to death rather than himself. Fascinating as these... No, try to skip to the end. Try to skip to the quote. Is there a quote in here?
No.
There's no quote in here.
No.
There's no quote. I wanted to read it in the Sylvester McCoy voice.
Oh. Third place, a surprisingly high one as well. Colin Baker, Doctor Who the Pirates audio. Just looking at the title of this release, it's clear that it's basically a whole load of sword fighting, ridiculous pirate phrasings and other rubbish. It's also quite possibly the most fun episode in the history of the show. This is how comedy Who should be done. No reservations, no subtlety at all. Just launching into it with reckless abandon. Baker proves himself worthy of his drastically increased Big Finish reputation a million times over in this story. I won't spoil the fun for those of you irritated to the audio, but suffice it to say that the cliffhanger leading into episode 3 is possibly the greatest thing you will ever hear. Not to mention how episode 3 and 4 will leave you in absolute tears, but in entirely different ways. Don't skip this one. Now, the next one.
Yeah.
I thought they'd already done this, Doctor.
I thought they'd already done this Doctor as well. I was thinking that was
Big
another
Bang.
thing. Yes, they have.
Matt Smith.
So we've got Matt Smith again, by the looks of it. So this time the Rings of Akatan. So criticisms of Rings being lazily written, contradictory and boring are understandable, and not without merit. But in its examination of an entirely alien culture and in its portrayal of the 11th Doctor, it is a story without equal. Say what you want, but the not one but two incredible speeches in this story are enough to warrant its place on this list. In fact, I'm just going to leave them right here and say no more about it.
By the way, they didn't have. There's 2 more Doctors they haven't had.
Yeah, weird, isn't it? Standout quote. Hey, do you mind if I tell you a story? When you might not have heard. All the elements in your body were forged many, many millions of years ago in the heart of a faraway star that exploded and died. That explosion scattered those elements across the desolations of deep space. After so many millions of years, these elements came together to form new stars and new planets, and on it went. The elements came together and burst apart, forming shoes and ships and sealing wax and cabbages and kings, until eventually they came together to make you. You are unique in the universe. There is only one Mary Galahal, and there will never be another. Getting rid of that existence isn't a sacrifice, it's a waste. I won't read all that because it's huge. So, the last one on here.
Another.
So, I guess it's not saying it's won by every Doctor, they're just going for the best.
There's 3 Doctors they didn't have.
So, who haven't they had?
Peter Capaldi,
Mm-hmm.
William Hartnell,
Mm-hmm.
and Patrick Troughton.
And, wow, that's unbelievable. Some of the best Doctors in there.
Yeah. For the sake of brevity.
So, which Doctor is this?
Christopher Eccleston.
And what episode?
Dalek.
Okay.
For the sake of brevity, I will remain from silent screen here about how incredible Robert Sherman's scripts are instead launch into how incredible Eccleston is instead. On a purely technical level, he is arguably the most talented actor ever to have portrayed our favourite Time Lord. With the bubbly humour and quips concealing a deeply scarred and troubled man who smiles only when he knows Rose is watching. While his best character moment comes in the form of the previously mentioned Bad Wolf cliffhanger, it's not an exaggeration to say that one of the best and most utterly terrifying moments in all Doctor Who comes in the first encounter between Nine and the Captive Dalek. I know what should happen. I know what you deserved. Exterminate. Eccleston is equally adept in showing his compassion for the Dalek at the episode's conclusion, a pivotal moment in Nine's character arc, but it is righteous fury and vitriol that we see Nine at his absolute peak. Standout quote, why don't you finish the job and make the Daleks extinct? Why don't you just die? But also, you just want to drag the stars down and stick them underground beneath tones of sand and dirt and label them. You're about as far from the stars as you can get.
So there we have it. It does surprise me that there's no Peter Capaldi in there because there's some great speeches. I can't remember the exact detail of them, but I'm thinking immediately Kill the Moon and the speech towards the end. But I'm sure there was quite a few others in the series as well. Perhaps it would be an interesting article to do in a future week. Would be our own version of that.
Yeah.
Perhaps think of our top 10 standout quotes or scenes from whoever.
Yeah, that could be quite good.
Is that probably all of the news?
Yes, that is.
So, are we going to do Judge by Tenure first, or are we going to give a rundown of our Doctors?
Let's do Judge by Tenure first.
Okay.
Because then we could do a roundup on it all.
Okay. So, Judge by Tenure.
Wow.
We're at the end of.
Woo!
We've got to the last or the current Doctor.
12 weeks of this.
Wow,
I can't believe it.
So we're at Peter Capaldi. Wow. Where do we start?
Pardon?
Where do we start?
Well, on this,
Yeah.
we started the good.
The good. Who's going to start?
Now, let's talk about this. To be honest, I didn't think I was going to like Peter Capaldi by the end of time, the Doctor.
Hmm.
But then, the more it came up to it, like Series 8, and when it was first on, I really enjoyed him.
Yeah.
And he immediately, by the end of Series 8, came in my top 2 Doctors.
Yeah. Certainly had a big impact.
It did,
So what do you think it is that makes him such a good Doctor? What's the good about him?
I don't know. He's just so different. He's a bit darker, and we haven't seen one of these sort of Doctors since. Well, kind of Colin Baker, really.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
kind of saw it with Sylvester McCoy, but
Yeah.
and Christopher Eccleston, and all of the Doctors have a dark side, but he has a very dark side.
Yes.
I think, yeah, he's very different. He gives good speeches. He's got a good voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just got a good atmosphere about him.
Yeah. I think he's a breath of fresh air after the more, obviously, the younger Doctors that we've had in recent years. Which is, I've got nothing against young Doctors by any means, but there's a certain authority that he has about him.
Yeah,
And I mean, you know, he steals pretty much every scene he's in. You know, he's just a natural Doctor, and you get that pretty much straight away with him. I think from that first episode.
Yeah, it's a great first episode as well.
Yeah, but then he really comes into his own. I think as the series develops, he gets stronger and stronger.
What do you think his strongest performance is?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I think I really like him in Mummy on the Orient Express.
Yeah, I like him in Dark Water.
Yeah.
Um,
And of course, Listen, which is,
of course.
I mean, Listen possibly could be his finest hour.
It could be, yeah.
But he even worked. I mean, I was a bit worried when he got to the Robots of Sherwood episode, and it was obviously going to be one of the more light-hearted episodes. That was clear.
Like you said before, the episode, if you could watch our review
Mm-hmm.
and our preview of the episode,
Yeah,
something about robots and Sherwood. We talked about. You said that you thought it was going to be a more throwaway episode.
yeah, and it was, wasn't it? But somehow, you didn't imagine that it would work with Peter Capaldi. It felt like that's the sort of thing that Matt Smith or David Tennant would pull off really well. But surprisingly, it worked very well. And I think it stopped it from being a crap episode, actually. If you'd have put one of the other two in on there, it might have been rubbish.
Yeah, it might have been.
But it's sort of, it had the humour, but at the same point had that edginess to it, which he does so well. What would you say? Is there any bad parts about him?
I don't think so. There's only been a few Doctors who've had bad points about.
Yeah. And often it's been things outside of their control, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing about him?
I don't know. Robot Show?
Yeah, I mean that'd be his worst episode probably. As I say, even with that episode, he still came across really strong. I can't think of anything bad about him at all.
No.
Nothing at all. He's great.
Nothing.
We want lots of years, Peter. Give us lots of years.
Yeah, hopefully.
What's the next question on this?
We have best companion.
Okay, that's quite easy.
Clara.
Yeah.
Well, if you had Danny Pink in it, it'd still be Clara.
It would still be Clara. I mean, Danny. We were talking a little while ago on the previous show that we did on the Behind the Sofa. I was saying about the male characters often fairly supplementary characters. You know, they're there to give a bit more depth to the main female companion, and probably Danny Pink's as good an example of that.
We had a big argument about that.
We did, didn't we? Well, sort of a friendly argument. It wasn't a sort of
friendly.
It wasn't a face slapping on.
Wasn't like well, I did try to punch you on the podcast, but that's only fake.
That is true. Yeah,
Not on podcasts, I mean vidcasts.
Yeah.
Thing.
We're just too busy. We've got too many things going on.
No.
Yeah, so it has to be Clara, and
Yeah.
I think we talked last week, didn't we, about the dynamics between Peter Capaldi and Clara, how they work so much better, how Clara seems a much stronger character with Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, she does. I wouldn't put Janet Coleman as Clara so high in my top 3 list of companions. Obviously, she can never beat Sarah Jane. She can probably never beat the Brigadier.
Yeah.
Or she may not be able to beat Jamie, so she may be 4th, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she's I mean, I guess when you going back to the bad points about the Doctor, I don't think this is a bad point. But one criticism that a lot of people had was that it became a bit too much Clara Who.
Yeah.
So Clara sometimes became the central figure rather than the Doctor.
For example, Flatline.
But I don't think that was a bad thing.
No.
And as I say, I think regardless of how they wrote things, the Doctor still stole pretty much every scene he was in. And it's nice to see some characters with a lot of depth, because I think you'd have to be a fairly strong character if you went off gallivanting around the world with the Doctor, wouldn't you? You'd have to be a strong individual.
I know.
What other questions do we usually ask ourselves?
We ask, what was the best episode?
The best episode. So we've only really got the one series to go on at the moment. Best episode for me, I know it's easy for me.
Okay, we could we have a little thing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Listen.
Okay.
Very strong episode.
It's not easy for me. How can it be easy? Because there are so many good Peter Capaldi episodes.
Yeah.
There are a few bad ones in between. But yeah.
I think I just think Listen's I think Listen's a really strong one. I think also Dark Water. Dark Water is actually in isolation is possibly even stronger than Listen.
Yeah. No, well, as I may have said before, first time round, Dark Water's really good, really strong, a lot stronger than the second part. The second time you watch it, Dark Water isn't as good as Death in Heaven.
Oh really? You think Death in Heaven's a better episode?
The second time you watch it.
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? Probably because the surprise element's gone, which is one of the things that made it so powerful the first time.
Dark Water was a great episode.
Yeah.
First, it's still a great episode.
So
it's not as good.
I wonder when. I mean, once we've gone through this section, we'll give a rundown of how we rank our Doctors from bottom to top.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to sort of revisit that at the end of Capaldi's tenure to see where we rank him.
Because I know that we are going to do another Judge by Tenure of Peter Capaldi at the end of Series 9.
Okay, that sounds good. And that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I'd say what would also be interesting, because I think, again, going to the good stuff, I think Peter Capaldi's Doctor is just perfect for Moffat.
Yeah.
Because we said last week that Moffat tends to write a sort of darker set of stories, and that just really suits Peter Capaldi. So have we got anything else to say on this Judge by Tenure?
We've got monsters.
Monsters, okay. So favourite monster, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I always struggle with this one, you know, with Peter Capaldi, because so many of his monsters weren't proper monsters.
There are 2, if you count them as monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, best idea is the Foretold, and the best look is the Teller, but they're not really villains.
No, that's right. But I guess for the bulk of the episode, they're villains. It's only right at the end where they're not villains anymore. So I guess we can count them as monsters. I'd probably go for the Foretold.
Yeah.
I mean, what did they meet that was truly evil? Obviously, you had Missy and the Cybermen. Aside from that,
Clockwork
Droid, yeah. And I guess the whatever they're called from Flatliners.
The boneless.
The boneless. They were obviously very evil, weren't
What
they?
about the moon spiders?
Moon spiders, not really. They were just there protecting
Yeah.
the egg, weren't they?
Oh yeah.
Mm. So again, not really, listen, we don't know what that was.
Clara, wasn't it?
Yeah. I guess the robots of Sherwood and
Yeah, the sheriff.
the sheriff was
Dalek. Yeah, we've had Dalek.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think I'll go for the Foretold.
What would you rank about 10?
10.
Me too.
I think he's top notch. I found that I got more excited about Doctor Who with Peter Capaldi than I have done at any point in New Who.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when back in the old days when I was a young'un and I used to get really excited for the Tom Baker episodes.
Yeah.
And I think the two have a similar edge to them.
Okay, should we list our order of doctors?
Okay, yeah.
We're gonna go down in listings, like we're gonna do it one at a time. So should we like go my 13, your 13, or
Okay.
do a whole list?
Do your 13, my 13, yeah?
Yeah, okay. My 13
Okay.
is John Hurt.
Mine is David Tennant.
My 12 is Sylvester McCoy.
My 12 is Sylvester McCoy.
My 11 is Colin Baker.
My 11 is Colin Baker.
My 10 is Christopher Eccleston.
My 10 is Peter Davidson.
My 9 is Peter Davidson.
My 9 is William Hartnell.
My 8 is Paul McGann.
My 8 is Christopher Eccleston.
My 7 is William Hartnell.
My 7 is
I thought he'd already done Christopher.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. My 7 is Paul McGann.
Okay, did I say mine was William? Okay.
Yeah.
My 6 is John Pertwee.
My 6 is John Hurt.
My 5th is Patrick Troughton.
My 5th is John Pertwee.
My 4th is David Tennant.
My 4th is Matt Smith.
My 3rd is Tom Baker.
My 3rd is Patrick Troughton.
Should I do my joints?
You got joints, have you?
Yeah, I've got a joint at the top.
Okay, good for your
My
joints.
joint top is Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi.
My 2nd is Peter Capaldi. My top is Tom Baker. So there we have it. There's our rundown, and perhaps actually that might be a good thing to put on the website. Actually,
Yeah.
is our 13 doctors in order.
Yeah.
So there we have it. Judge my tenure. That's the tenure complete. We'll be coming back with that again shortly, won't we? But looking at
It'll be next week.
Yeah.
It depends if it's next. Yeah, it will be next week, I think.
So what was the focus going to be for Judge my tenure next time?
Next week, we are going to look at the eras of Doctor Who. I think we're looking at Sidney Newman.
Okay.
Tenure.
Okay, so those are sort of like the showrunner
Yeah.
sort of things. Okay, that'd be good. That'd be really interesting to do. So,
More on the production side.
moving onwards and upwards into time and space,
Right.
we probably should think about our review, should we not?
Yes.
I've forgotten the name of it.
Most of the Cybermen age still.
That's it.
Well done.
Okay, so this is a set of David Tennant stories
Yes.
from the 2nd series of New Who.
Yes.
First time that he's met the Cybermen since...
In New Who.
Yeah, so...
So since Silver Nemesis in 1988, when that celebrated the Silver anniversary.
Okay, so story-wise, won't say too much about it, but basically, and I'm struggling now. We only watched this on Wednesday, and I'm struggling to remember how it began.
The TARDIS.
But effectively, the TARDIS, something went wrong with the TARDIS, and I can't remember why.
The time vortex was destroyed.
Okay, basically they sort of like plummeted into what turned out to be an alternative universe. When they get there, they find that Rose's dad is a little bit of a celebrity,
Yeah.
isn't he? Really, he's on sort of billboards and things like that, rather than being dead like he is in in the actual normal universe. And they start sort of sitting. Everybody's got these little sort of earplugs in, and they stop once a day for an upload of information. So rather than having to read or watch TV and things like that, all of the stuff is just immediately plugged straight into your brain.
Yeah.
But sat behind all of this, there's this guy who's dying. I've got his name.
John Lumick.
John Lumick.
I have to fill in the gaps.
You do, yeah, because I'm rubbish at names and things. So John Lumick is dying. He's the brain behind. Are they actually called Lumick Industries or
Cyber Industries?
Cyber Industries. And basically, he's using the Cybermen. It's as a starting point. Is the idea is to keep himself alive, but then he looks at it to keep all humans alive. So basically, he starts trying to take over the world with Cybermen.
Yeah.
The real interesting thing about the story is the whole concept of people meeting their families in a different universe. So, for instance, from Rose's perspective, her dad's alive.
Don't tell them about Mickey.
Yeah.
Mickey meets himself. Well, Mickey meets himself.
But he's not Mickey.
He's Ricky.
There's Mickey and Ricky. Mickey's worse. Ricky's a bit of a tough nut.
Yeah.
So so that's a basic. That's a good synopsis.
Yes,
I think it doesn't give away too much, does it?
No.
What did you make of it?
I thought it was a very good episode. I thought it saw David Tennant at one of his good episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was action-packed. A lot went on with it, but I didn't notice too much R2D cheesiness, but I did notice a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Where we had like the effects and stuff. It just would, like you said, when we were discussing it after it was on, it could have done with being a Stephen Moffat episode.
Yeah, it just would have had a slightly darker feel to it, wouldn't it? Because it was quite a dark story.
It was. Peter Capaldi was quite good at it.
Yeah.
But would you have Clara, and then her mum is really alive?
Yeah.
Her mum's dead. Ellie.
Yeah, that is true. It could have worked, but I think it did work really well with Rose.
Yeah, it did.
And I think Rose is probably. It was certainly Mickey's strongest hour.
Yeah,
I think.
Is.
Yeah.
It is.
And also it gives
quite main.
And also it gives the actor the opportunity to play both Mickey as Mickey and Ricky as the sort of tougher one.
Yeah.
So you see two sides to him. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than the follow-up one.
Yeah. This time, me too.
What's it?
Still.
Yeah.
No, not Ancient Still. Army of Ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah, I preferred it than that. The other one's got some great lines in it, as we've talked about before. But this one felt possibly the strongest Cyberman episode of New Who, other than the Death in Heaven.
Yeah, Death in Heaven is definitely better. Yeah. Well, it's not definitely better, it's better. But Rise of the Cybermen is still a really good episode, and it still makes. The reason we said it is because it makes the Cybermen more scary.
It does, particularly I think in the first episode.
Yeah.
I think part one. I think for me, part one has got that sort of scarier edge to it.
Yeah.
Part two is lots and lots of action.
Yeah.
So although the Cybermen are in part two a lot more, they're more creepy, more like the old Cybermen, perhaps in the first part.
What would you say? What was I going to say? What do you think of David Tennant in this story?
I like it. I much prefer David Tennant when he's. I prefer him with Rose than Madonna, certainly. I find he's middling foppish. With Donna, he's unbearingly foppish. He's at his best when he's with Mark, I think. But he works well in this one, I think. There's a few times he's a bit annoying, but there's also some times where his character comes across really, really strong in it.
Yeah. Bit of a mixture.
Yeah. It's one of the better ones of his, I would say.
One of the better ones of Series 2 as well.
Mm.
Series 2.
It sounds like it's a bit more patchy, isn't it? Perhaps?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think it compares with the classic series Cybermen episodes?
Not as good. Definitely not as good as the Invasion or Earthshock.
Yeah.
Maybe better than some of them. And Tomb of the Cybermen, it's not as good as that, or Moonbase.
I mean, interestingly, we've had 2 Cybermen ones back to back, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because we had the Colin Baker one, Attack of the Cybermen.
Yeah.
We had that before
Well
this
done.
one. That's amazing. It's very
I
rare
know.
for me to remember anything, isn't it? And I think I preferred it than Attack of the Cybermen.
I think.
Yeah. Probably because the Cybermen felt a bit more menacing.
Yeah.
Because although for all of their grandeur, they were really easy to beat in the last in Attack of the Cybermen, weren't they? You know?
The Crywans just.
Yeah, I mean, as I think I said last week, you and I could have taken them out probably with our hands tied behind our backs.
They're mad.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd recommend it to people.
Yeah, I would
Definitely.
too. But do you think it's for younger viewers or older viewers?
I think all of the RTD stuff is fine for younger viewers. There's a few bits that are a little bit edgy. I think the whole idea, you know, when you see the conveyor belt of humans and you see all the cutting items, and you realise that people are going to get sort of all the bits hacked off and ground. That's a bit horrible, I think. But I think generally it works fine for younger people.
Okay, should we do the scores?
Yeah.
Monsters.
It's the Cybermen.
Yes, of course.
One of my favourite villains.
I know, mine too.
But it's not classic Cybermen.
No, not
So,
as good as some.
I'm going to give them an 8.
Me too.
Okay.
Character development.
I actually think it's quite strong on that for an RTD one, mainly around Mickey.
Yeah.
So
maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Yeah, me too. Excitement.
Second half's quite exciting.
Yeah.
A lot going on in it. I'm not sure how much I like the end. I found the ending was a little bit, as in how they defeated the Cybermen.
Yeah.
It's quite clever. I like the idea of it, but I found the way they did it a little bit cheesy. A little bit
the end was quite sad, though.
The actual end was really good.
Yeah, the actual end was really sad.
Yeah, but the sort of the way
you actually had a tear.
I had a proper tear. But the way they actually defeated the Cybermen, whilst the idea was really good, it just felt a little bit cheesy the way they did it. But we can cope with that.
Yeah.
So excitement, which is what we meant to be talking about. I'm going to give it an 8.
Pace.
It's a very good pace. It works. First half is slower, but still you don't ever feel that you need to wind it up. So I would say an 8.
Overall.
I would say a 7.5.
I'm going to say an 8 because our average of scores were 8.
Yeah, you're probably right. So there we have it. Definitely worth a watch. It's time now. That moment we love, where we have to remember to turn the macro on.
I know, I was just going to.
And we prepare ourselves to move to the randomizer. That great spreadsheet with every episode from Who History recorded in it. We press the button and we find out what we will be watching next week, which you're going to do right now. So, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So, what have we got then?
We have our 25th episode on the randomizer, which is Mark of the Rani.
Mark of the Rani. So that's a Colin Baker one?
Yes.
Our first episode watching this show with Rani in it.
Yes.
And
probably the only one.
Is it a 2-parter, isn't it?
Yeah, 45 minutes.
So we'll be watching one this Wednesday, the last part next Saturday, and we'll be talking about it about now next week.
Yes, that'd be good.
Brilliant. The final part of the show.
Yes. What now?
Is it?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's quiz or question. Do. Stop music.
There we go.
Okay,
Simple
so
question. So you better explain the rules again because we don't have it every week these days.
we have to answer quiz or questions put by the audience. What is a quiz?
A quiz is something with a right or wrong answer.
The question is something which doesn't have a right or wrong answer.
Just more an opinion based.
Yeah.
One. Okay.
Opinion.
Okay, so fire away with the start of the 10.
What is your most anticipated Series 9 moment, episode, and character? There's a question.
That's going to be a question. So there's no right or wrong answer. So can you go through them one by one? Most anticipated
Series 9 moment, episode, and character. So.
Ooh, right. Okay. Moment.
I know what mine is.
I think mine is going to have to be finding out what's going on with Osgood.
Me too. I want to see the Zygones return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also want to see how the cliffhanger episode of Series 9, the cliffhanger episode.
Yes.
The penultimate one, and we have how the series will begin.
Yeah, that's right. And also how different the Doctor is. When when they've talked about him being a different Doctor this time around, and equally Missy. There's been a lot of talk about her being different. So, to what extent is she going to be demented? Now, it seemed from something I saw written down that she was going to be as demented as ever. Because I was wondering whether perhaps she was going to have to play the good girl.
I know, me too.
Okay. Next up on the quiz or questions.
What was it? When was it confirmed? Classic Who would be ending? Quiz or question?
It's going to be a quiz. I'll leave that to you to answer.
I don't think it was actually confirmed until a few days before Survival was on, and they called Sylvester McCoy in to record the final scenes.
Oh, really? That must have been a really sad moment, mustn't it?
I know.
I don't really remember it because by the time that happened, I'd stopped watching it.
Yeah.
I think I was quite lucky actually because I grew up in a really strong period of Who, and then when it turned into the sort of crappy 80s stuff, I'd sort of grown out of it a little bit. Possibly because it felt childish at that point.
Yeah.
And then we got the Mark of the Marnie to enjoy next week, which I guess is smack in that period of time. But there we have it.
How long are you thinking Behind the Sofa will last? Was a question.
That's going to be a question.
People are really running out of quiz or questions.
There must be, mustn't they?
I'm looking forward to when we can have Series 9 specials.
Yeah, that would be good. How long will Behind the Sofa last? I think Behind the Sofa's got quite a lot of life in it.
Me too.
Because there's enough for us to do one per every story ever that we can get our hands on. Whether the sofa lasts that long is another matter because the sofa's getting quite old. So Behind the Sofa might last longer than the sofa. It might have to just be called Behind the.
Yeah, we might have to sit on a different sofa.
We could sit on a different sofa.
What about when that breaks?
Behind a different sofa. In that case, it would just be called Behind, I think.
Yeah.
And we can wiggle our bottoms. Any more quiz or questions?
Yeah. What, from your point of view, do you think of Miss Nursery in Series 5? Quiz question.
What do I think? That's a question. I'm trying to remember which is that the current series?
Yeah, that's the current.
The one that we're filming at the moment.
Yes, that's the series we're filming it.
I think it's got a darker edge than the early ones. I think it's got a lot more complexity, a lot of stronger characters, and a lot of stronger dialogue.
Yeah.
So that's one to look forward for, folks. Not too long, and it's
No.
with us.
What do you think goes on behind the scenes? What goes wrong?
Of what?
Doctor Who.
Of Doctor Who in general.
Quiz question.
Quiz or question? It's got to be a question because we don't really know too much, do we?
Hmm.
Does anything go wrong?
I don't know. Do you think they laugh a lot? Do you think?
I bet they do.
Yeah.
If it's anything like us when we're recording the figure adventures, we laugh all the time, don't we?
We do. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we think? I would imagine. Yeah. There's so many there's so many people involved in Doctor Who. I'd imagine they do have quite a good laugh because you get all sorts of characters on there, don't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I reckon so.
They have comedians sometimes, like Frank Taylor and stuff.
Having said that, comedians are often real manic depressives.
Do
in real life.
you prefer the classic Daleks or the new Daleks? Is the question.
It's a question again. Personally, I still like the older Daleks.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because, for the same reasons with the Cybermen, I just think they're scarier. And when I say the classic Daleks, I'm talking probably up to Tom Baker's sort of period.
Yeah.
I think once the 80s came in, they started
Davros
enhancing them a little
was
bit.
in it a bit too much.
Yeah, that's right. In some respects, it would have been better if Davros had only ever been in the one.
Yeah, it would be good.
And all they maybe sort of brought him back in New Who. But yeah. Any more?
What mysteries will be solved in the next season?
Okay, it's a question again.
Question.
I think possibly Gallifrey.
Definitely the Osgood story.
Yes, that would be. You think so? Gallifrey, I mean, it's questionable. It may do, or they may hold on to the following season, mightn't they?
Yeah. Stephen Moffat's final series. That could be.
I think the fate of Clara,
Yeah.
because I can't see her going on any longer than this series.
I think she'll die. No, I don't know if she'll die.
I don't think they'll kill her off. I don't think
No,
they will.
Stephen Moffat loves her so much. But there are some going back to some anticipated moments. We want the return of Omega.
We do, yeah.
We want it.
We do want it. I'm sure that will happen at some point. He's one of the more obvious classic characters to bring back.
Yeah.
And he could be done really well now, couldn't he? With modern technology and everything, he could be really strong.
Yeah.
Does that bring us to the end of Quiz or Questions?
Yes.
And therefore, with that, it brings us to the end of the show.
Right.
We talked quite a bit really since we had no news.
We've talked an hour like normal.
Yeah. So what do we have in next week's show?
We have I think we've got our showrunner judged by tenure on Sydney Newman.
We also will be giving you our thoughts on Mark of the Rani.
We'll have some more. We'll have some more user views.
We'll be pressing the button of who to face.
And I think we'll be doing who to face.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh, pressing randomizer.
We'll be pressing the randomizer as well.
Ooh.
So, hope you've had fun. We certainly have. We always do.
Yes, and we'll back for another tacky review.
And we will. We'll be back to talk about the tacky Mark of the Rani. Hope you've had fun. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
See you next week. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.